Hi everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. I hope you're having a great day. Today we're at Holmes Honda to fulfill a request from one of you, and that is to review the 2023 Honda Pilot Sport. The Sport trim level is the second trim level in the lineup. It goes LX and then Sport. It has a starting price of $39,500, and we're going to find out, does it have the right features for the right price? If you want to know more about this particular model that comes in radiant red with a black interior, check out the link down in the description of the video to the Holmes Honda website. And if you have not yet looked at one of these new Pilots, it is fully redesigned for 2023. Inside and out, a lot of changes. Let's take a look at exactly what you can expect to find if this is the model you want to buy. Taking a look from the front end, we're going to see the wider grille. Gives it a lower profile, looks like a little more aggressive, or maybe we should say sporty stance. The headlight housings have been redesigned as well. You can see the change in the positioning of the turn signal lever, and I hope for those of you who watch me regularly, I'm sorry, but I have to explain this. I know I do this in every video, but a lot of people don't know. That flickering effect that you see with the lights right there, that has to do with the shutter speed of my GoPro. It's a common GoPro problem. No, you cannot make the LED daytime running lights flicker like that or any other light on the vehicle. You will also find LED fog lights and then our active air curtains to help out with airflow over the vehicle. We're going to improve aerodynamics by reducing drag with that particular feature, obviously. And Honda Sensing is here. Honda's safety suite of driving aids. That's going to include lane keeping assist, road departure mitigation braking, adaptive cruise control, and it's also going to have traffic jam assist. Now, front wheel drive is standard on all trim levels with the exception of the Trail Sport and the Elite trim levels. All other trim levels come standard with front wheel drive, but all-wheel drive is available even here on the Sport trim level. And how about tire and wheel size? 255 on the width, a 50 series sidewall wrapped around 20-inch wheels. And you will not have turn signal indicators built into the power adjustable but manually folding side view mirrors. On the trim level, they are also not heated. I don't know if that's that big of a deal to most people, but just in case, I figured I'd let you know. There is your remote. You do see the changes there likely. It is a new style remote, but a lot of the same features. And good news, even here on the Sport trim level, not being one of the highest trim levels, you still have remote start. You'll also have the roof rails up there, so that means you can put the crossbars on and increase your cargo capacity. And the nice look with the tail lights, the Pilot logo there in the center, a little bit of gloss black here, and the Sport logo also in black. I think that looks nice. And then we're going to have our exhaust finishers down here to finish things off. You also have that rear roof spoiler up there along with the shark fin antenna, and the rear window wiper is here to use when this rear window is dirty or when it's raining. One of the changes for the 2023 model year is going to be found here under the hood. And while it may sound like there's no changes, there is a change. It's a 3.5 liter V6, but this is not the VTEC. This is now a dual overhead cam engine. Not a big difference in numbers, 285 horsepower, 262 pounds-feet of torque. The torque number remains the same, but it's more efficient than it was in the past. To me, it seems to be more smooth in how it runs and more responsive than what we saw. You will also find a 10-speed automatic transmission instead of the former 9-speed automatic transmission. And let's talk a little bit about MPGs. 19 city, 27 highway, 22 combined, and 4.5 gallons of gas is what Honda says you should use for every 100 miles driven. And if you're curious, when you use capless fuel fill to fill your fuel tank up, that's a 19.5 gallon fuel tank. And if you're curious about differences in size, we have a 2.8 inch increase in wheelbase. You're going to measure wheelbase from the center of one tire to the center of the other, and bumper to bumper overall length increases by 3.4 inches. As far as the width of the 23 Pilot on the front end, it increases between 1.1 and 1.2 inches. On the rear, 1.4 to 1.5 inches. And depending on if you have a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive Pilot will determine what you can tow. Front-wheel drive, 3,500 pounds. All-wheel drive, 5,000 pounds. And as you can see, we don't have a power rear door here on the Sport trim level, but it is dampened, very easy to deal with as far as opening. There's a couple of different ways to open it. You can use the button on the tailgate itself, or you can use the remote right here to open that as well. And when we look inside, I do want to show you something here. Now you're going to notice that we have the double-sided floor right here. You have carpet on one side, plastic on the other. You can turn that over if you want to. And you also have quite a bit of space here within the area underneath the floor. Now you might say, oh man, it doesn't have a spare tire. Yeah, it actually does have a spare tire. It's just located underneath the vehicle. And cargo capacity comes in between 16.5 and 82.1 cubic feet. You can maximize that in a couple of different ways. You have a couple of different options here. A little hard to do that one-handed. You can lower these rear seats completely flat back here if you want to. And you're going to have a little bit of space on the sides here as well for some additional little areas, kind of just little nooks of sorts. And then you can also lower those middle seats. And because I know some of you like to see maximized cargo space with all of the seats folded flat, well, here you go. I've done that for you. Now, one thing that you're not going to find here on this trim level will be the ability to remove this seat. So that's one reason why the cargo space doesn't go as high on this model as it might on others. It can go as high as 83.9 cubic feet. But when you step up on trim level, you can actually remove just the middle seat right here, but that does help to improve cargo space just a little bit. And when it comes to the interior, as far as the doors go, there are nice, large, really upper and lower door bins right here. So quite a bit of storage space in the middle seat area here. Now you will have cloth interior. There are varying opinions on that. So depending on who you are, well, you may or may not like that. Some people like leather, some people like cloth. Tell me what you think. We'll also have the nice contrast stitching. I'm glad that it's not white or black. It really stands out. That's a nice feature. Now, one thing I do want to show here is the fact that you can move these seats up quite a bit. So, depending on what's going on with rear seat and middle row seat passengers, rear seat legroom can be increased quite well. So let's get that back in place right there. All you have to do to move these seats out of the way to gain access to the third row is push that button right there. The seats move up and out of the way. We'll hop into the back seat area, the third row area, and see what we have as far as space goes. Now, this is where you could have the seat set. And obviously all of these seats do move up. So that's one thing. Now, how about minimal leg room? Well, here's what we have. I still have a good bit of space, just tongue twisted, but I have some leg room, that's for sure. The one thing I would want to do is move all of the seats forward. That gives me a little bit of extra space, especially if you have 3 people sitting back here, which there is room for 3. And for those who might not believe me, you have 1, 2, 3 seat belts, as you can see. So that's going to be the situation. We're going to have the cup holders and an air conditioning vent back here for everybody. Tell me what you think about that position of the air conditioning vent. Should it be located where it is? Because obviously, I'll show you right here, you can move the position of where that's flowing to a great degree. But would it be better to maybe have it in the roof instead of down there in that lower area by the cup holders? And when it comes to getting back out, it's just as easy as getting in. Depending on if rear seat passengers, or should I say middle row passengers, jump out and forget about who's in this rear area, well, you can just push that button and everything moves up and out of the way. And one thing that I believe is very favorable here is you don't have a large or tall transmission tunnel that makes whoever's sitting in that middle seat uncomfortable. So that's a good thing. We're going to have the rear seat pockets right here. Also, the dual air conditioning vents and USB connectivity down there on the center console. And as you already saw, you do have the fold down, what really is more cup holders and storage space here. I guess that could be used as an armrest, but depending on who you are. The good news is that if you're sitting in one of these outboard seats, you do have the armrest options here with the door panels. So that really makes up for the fact that this center section right here isn't as high as it could be to be used as an armrest, but I guess if the kids are sitting here, that works pretty well. And looking in through the passenger side front door, pretty much the same thing we saw on the rear door for the passenger side. Obviously, that's going to be the same on the driver's side as far as the rear door is concerned. And here on the sport trim level, power seats for the driver and the passenger. They're heated only, not ventilated. So we'd love to have ventilated seats, especially on a day like this. Highs in the 100+ degree range. And we're going to have some gloss black here, but not in areas that I believe are going to be easily fingerprinted up quite a bit. So that's a good thing. You'll also have storage space up here for, well, whatever, cell phones and whatever else anybody wants to put into that area. Holmes Honda installed wheel locks, so you'll find your wheel lock key in here. That's what this is. It will go onto the wheel lock itself. If you ever need to change a tire, you know that you have a spare tire to use if you need it. Quite a bit of space within the glove box. Dual zone climate control. We're going to have more connectivity options here with the 12 volt and a couple of USB options. Now here on the sport trim level, no, there is not a wireless charging pad. Not necessarily a big deal, I don't think, because you can still charge via USB cable if you need to. A little more gloss black trim found around the shifter, the mode selector. You're going to have your power parking brake and brake hold mode. I think you know what all is there. I likely don't need to say too much about that. Cup holders. And here in the front seat, well, you can change the positioning of the seats, which is a good thing. That way, if the center console isn't high enough for somebody, they can always lower the seat. And, well, that makes up the difference as far as being able to use that as an armrest. And then we're going to have some space in here. Somebody forgot to get rid of some trash, but we'll just get that out of the way for a minute. And then we'll take a look inside. Quite a bit of space in there as far as the center console goes. Now here on the sport trim level, what you won't have is a sunroof. Tell me what your thoughts are on that. Do you want a sunroof? Maybe not. Do you prefer a panoramic sunroof? If you go with a trim level that has a sunroof here on the Pilot, that's what you're going to get, the panoramic sunroof, instead of the conventional size. And here on the driver's side door, all of the additional switches and buttons that you would expect for controlling all four windows and those power side view mirrors. Obviously the same setup with the door bins, so pretty much the same thing. And if you wanted to attempt a front wheel drive burnout with your Pilot, well, you can turn traction control off right there if you ever wanted to try that. And then we're going to have the lever right here that you just push down, and that allows you to adjust the tilt and telescopically adjustable steering wheel. And we'll reach over here and hit our push button start. Take a look at the new digital dash design or display and see what we have as far as that goes. You're going to have a lot of different features that you can scroll your way through with the scroll wheel right here. We'll just go through those. I know I'm moving somewhat quickly here. We're not going to take time to stop and talk about each feature, but just so you can see what's here and how that works, you do have the digital and analog speedometer up there. As you can see, your steering wheel mounted controls and your paddle shifters if you want to work your way through the 10-speed automatic transmission, manually speaking. And this is the 7-inch screen. And again, that flickering effect still has to do with the GoPro. It's not the fault of Honda. We will have the backup camera. We're going to have 3 different views. So the multi-view rear view camera. I like the fact that you have this little area right here where you can position your fingers. Just makes it a little more comfortable and easy to navigate your way around on that screen. You do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integration, depending on what you need to do. And something that I know a lot of people like, I've just learned this over the years, with the Honda Ridgeline. We see the Ridgeline sitting right there. Back in 2021, Honda brought back the knobs to control the functionality of the radio. You can see that you also have that here. And like I said, you have dual zone climate control, heated seats only. We're not turning those on today. Don't dare need to do that. Even if somebody dared me and offered me enough money, I'm not sure that I would do that. Well, I guess it depends on how much you offer. Not that I'm asking for that, but you can sync the 2 sides together if you want to, or adjust them individually. So quite a bit going on here with a lot of different features. You can obviously pair your cell phone, and a lot of different information that you can go through as far as different settings and information with the vehicle. We just hit menu right here to get to that. You can see what all is there. And one more thing I did want to show will be our driving modes. We're going to start with normal, as you can see right there. I'll show you the graphics that we have on the screen. Then we move on to econ mode. You're going to have snow mode and also tow mode. That's right. And then we'll go all the way up here. Last but not least, being the sport trim level, well, it obviously should have a sport driving mode, and it most certainly does. Speaking of driving, why don't we hop out on the road for our test drive and see what it's like to drive this Honda Pilot Sport. And a quick little treat, something out of the ordinary. I'm trying to do this in more of our videos, but I'll show you what the interior looks like when it's dark. Now, this is the best I can do. I'm obviously going to have a little bit of light shining in through the doors right there. But just to show you what the interior looks like, and we'll do this. Let's turn on the headlights and let you see what everything looks like. In this case, that is the low beams. There is the high beams. And just to show you a little bit more of what's here, yes, you do have the lighted steering wheel mounted controls, or lit. I don't know which way is the best way to put that. I'm not a grammar major, an English major. But you can see what's here as far as the shifter goes and all of the other functionality of the lighting of the interior. Now, you don't have ambient lighting in this particular case, but in case you wanted to know what do things look like after dark with the Pilot Sport, now you know. Okay, we're going to get out on the road for a quick test drive here in the Pilot. And one thing I can most certainly say, if you've driven the previous generation of the Pilot, not that it was bad in any form or fashion, but you can really tell the difference with this dual overhead cam version of the 3.5 liter V6 mated to the 10-speed automatic transmission compared to the former, which was the VTEC mated to a 9-speed. Driving down the road, it's just a smoother experience. It's not that it ran rough or anything like that, but when I say that, it just seems to be more efficient in getting down the road. It doesn't seem to have to work quite as hard. At least that's based on my personal experience. So I think that's a good thing. Honda's improved in that particular area. It's not that it was a necessary thing, but I know that's what I like. So depending on what you've driven, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Well, maybe, but the best thing to do is just tell you about it. So what is it like as far as the overall ride quality? Well, the ride quality here is good. It's not that it was bad previously, but it does seem to be a little bit smoother on the ride quality here. When you have increased wheelbase, that's going to help with something like that. The interior itself is nice and comfortable, plenty of room here, a lot of cargo capacity. And here's the thing, you can go, depending on trim level, you can have the the 7-inch screen as we have in this particular model, or the 9-inch. And neither one is complicated or difficult to learn and use, but I'd say that if you want one that's maybe a little more simplified, this 7-inch would definitely be the case. And so, in my opinion, that's the situation there. Now we're going to get around this truck right here. I'm not going to have to work all that hard at doing it as far as flooring it. In fact, I'm not even to half throttle as far as the gas pedal position goes. So absolutely no problems when it comes to acceleration with the Pilot as far as we need to drive around slower moving traffic or whatever the situation is, merging into traffic, something like that. It works well. You have good visibility here, very easy to see out of. And again, going to trim level will determine if you have blind spot monitoring and things like that. So it just depends on the situation. But ultimately, that's what you have here as far as the sport trim level goes. Depending on how much money you want to spend, you still get quite a bit for the money here, even though this is only the second highest trim level available for the Pilot. Now it's your turn to leave a comment and tell me what you think. Does this 2023 Honda Pilot Sport have the right features for the right price? Tell me what your answer is and tell me why you answered the way that you did. I'm always curious to get your feedback. I want to say a special thanks to my friends here at Holmes Honda for loaning me this Honda Pilot Sport for the day. And a special thanks to each and every one of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, if you haven't subscribed to the Vehicle Visionary YouTube channel just yet, please consider doing so. And if you would like to learn about other vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, check out the video that's on the screen right now, and I will see you there.